They love the D.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I'm your host, David Michael. This is Tony DeCero. This is the Mighty Mo Dingo, and we're back after a long break, and we're glad to be here.
Yes.
How are you fellas doing?
I'm good.
Chilling.
You've been having a good summer? Have you been doing DJ stuff? What's been going on?
Me? I've been doing a little bit of everything.
You've been all over the world.
Yes.
I left the country twice, I guess. Yeah, since we last recorded.
So what brought you on those adventures?
The first one was a family vacation.
Okay.
Every 2 years or so, we get the whole family together. We went on a cruise, went to the Dominican. It was right after all those people were dying at the resort, so it was like it upped the ante. You know, you had to go full on. You know, either drink the rum or not. You know, obviously I survived because I like rum. And then we stopped in Grand Turks. That was pretty cool too. And then about a month ago, I was in Sweden, and that was for some fitness stuff. That was pretty cool. One thing that was weird about my trip to Sweden is I guess certain features on the Apple Watches aren't turned on in other countries. So when I was going to pay with my watch, people were looking at me like I had a horn growing out of my forehead. Yeah, it was really weird.
Like, is this guy from the future?
They're like, you want to pay? And I saw the little radio, button on the little pay things. I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm paying for my food. Like, you can do that with your watch? And I was like, yeah.
Was it like you started questioning yourself?
Yeah.
Like, am I in the right reality right now? Or
I was like, am I making this stuff up? And then one time I actually was doing a text to my daughter because she was asking me a question. And the lady was like, did you just put your PIN number in? And I was like, no, I was talking to my... Okay. Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize they were behind on some of that.
I don't know if it's behind, but it just maybe certain features aren't activated, because I know for the longest time with watches in Canada, it didn't do the EKG thing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they don't want their people knowing they have heart problems, because otherwise they flood the hospitals. Free health care. Shout out Canada.
It took 2.5 minutes for Mo to make it political.
That's interesting.
Yeah, pretty different. But no, I had a great time. Got to work with this guy.
Yes.
That
was a good time.
Yeah, that was a great show. Being backline support, so that's always good when Tony lets me tag along and kind of see what he does in his world.
Yeah, I definitely want to ask you guys about that. That always fascinates me, just hearing those stories about the stuff that you guys see kind of behind the stage, and the fires that Tony has to put out at the last second, and the security things that you've had to handle.
Yeah.
It's just it's so interesting to have that point of view for it, and then to kind of pair that with the pictures and videos that you guys post on your stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I learned all about the Wooks. I know a lot about culture with my travels and everything, but that was a culture I had not fully been exposed to. That was pretty interesting.
The Nectar fans,
yeah,
man.
The Nectar heads,
they
man.
are hardcore.
Those cats showed up as soon as gates opened and stayed right up against the rails until 20 minutes after Bass Nectar played, 9 hours later.
They weren't impressed with anybody. No act. I mean, the whole time it's...
No, they did. They were impressed with Troy Boy.
Well, yeah,
they did start rocking the fence to him, because I guess they weren't expecting some heavy bass from a dude that wasn't Bass Nectar.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right though. For the most part, for the about 7 of the 9 hours that they were up there, just bring on the Nectar.
So yeah, we are coming back from kind of a long break, and we should probably at least address the long break here. And so, we take a summer break every year. This one was just particularly long and particularly sudden.
Yeah, we included the spring in this one.
Yeah, exactly. So I claim full responsibility for the suddenness and the length of this break.
Well, but you had a lot going on too.
I did.
Started a brand new business. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my wife and I, she's the rock star realtor, and I'm the guy hiding in the corner trying to do the back-end business stuff and make the numbers work and get leads and that kind of thing. All the stuff that she shouldn't be focusing on.
All the stuff you did in your previous life.
Well,
for the most part, with the
sort
IT-ish
of.
stuff. Yeah.
The lead gen stuff is a little new, other than from the context of Passionate DJ. But it's a little different because this isn't like a primary business kind of thing like it is with that. And so it's been a big learning process, and kind of not really having a day job again, but not really not having a day job. Is like in this kind of like twilight in the middle. And so, that was kind of coming to a head, and I got really overwhelmed with the pace that we were trying to keep with the podcast, with Passionate DJ, and then my other business, which is like, that was my entire problem, is I had like 3 or 4 business things, and I'd like overloaded myself and kind of panicked, and so it was like, let's take the break now.
Yeah.
And
but for everybody out there, like a lot of your other job, like it's all like seasonal based, and it's like a massive pool at the end of the year.
It's a retail thing, so it's like very fourth quarter kind of based,
hardcore fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like 90% of your business is in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
So my bank account goes up and down and up and down, and it was kind of like stressing me out, and so it was kind of a thing where it was like, Passionate DJ is something that we care about so much, and we had always had meetings about it. Like, if this gets to be something that's like, it's too much to handle and we're not enjoying doing it, let's just stop. Instead of like letting it blow up, like, let's just hit the pause button and let it like just simmer until we can like reboot or whatever we need to do. And so that's what we decided to do. This means too much to us to just stop, and it also means too much to us to try to keep too rigorous of a pace to where we're not doing the content justice and that sort of thing. So we backed off from that. We released 1 or 2 videos, but for the most part, we just kind of took the summer off. But the Facebook group has been active,
robust
and awesome,
as always,
and that's really the cool thing that I learned about Passionate DJ audience, is that like they're really hardcore. Like they're here, and they just continued to interact like nothing had really changed, and it was pretty cool to see that.
And I'm sure you guys got some DMs too, because people are like, "Hey, what's going on? Everything okay?" Just like, "Oh, we're just taking a break."
And that was the other thing I learned, because I was really concerned that, because I kind of had like, I don't want to say an emotional breakdown, but like whatever is a step right before that. And it wasn't Passionate DJ doing it. It was just Passionate DJ was taking up the time, and I had to focus it elsewhere, And so it was like, I just kind of like a fuse blew, and I kind of stopped. But the community, I was really worried that they weren't going to understand. You know what I mean? That it was going to be like, okay, I guess this is over now, and it would just fizzle out. And then the other half would be angry, and we would start getting hate mail and stuff. I don't know about you guys, I haven't seen one piece of hate mail.
Completely contrasting to the hate mail, during this whole time where we took the break, I was seeing lots of comments on the Podbean page. We were getting new members in the community group, still like almost like daily.
Yeah, 5 or 10.
Yeah, and then still seeing
easily.
the conversations going on in the group, I was like, okay, I think they get it. I think they understand.
Yeah, and the few people that did reach out, it was like they were concerned. They were like, hey, did
the band break up?
Yeah. Or did something happen? Because the other thing...
Did we do something? Yeah.
The other elephant in the room is that our local community here in Dayton has had a really rough year.
Yeah.
And most people probably have heard by now that we had the 19 tornadoes hit all at once that just totally devastated several areas in the greater Dayton area, and then the mass shooting at downtown's Oregon district that became national news. And so there's been so much going on, and it's been a really kind of weird summer,
6 months,
weird 6 months or so, just in general. And so people were just kind of like, they were concerned when they contacted us. It wasn't that they were pissed and pointing fingers, like I was in my head for some reason that was what was going to happen.
I think we all felt that way. It takes me back to when I was a listener, and like you would kick out like content at random times, and I was deployed at the time when I discovered the show, so it was like you were kind of like a benchmark, like, okay, every time Dave releases a show, I'm 1 week closer to leaving, and then like you skipped a couple weeks, and I'm like, hey man, where's I need my show, man, come on, I need a hit.
Well, so the long and short of it is we're all kind of reset, and I feel like I wasn't the one feeling kind of burnt out, and I just wanted to make sure that we all started having fun when we were doing this again, and I feel like that's where we are again. I've been getting like the jitters, like wanting to like, let's record a podcast, let's make videos, and you guys have been contacting me, hey, are we going to record? And so but then
having that
time is now.
Having that fam jam though was pretty dope.
The fam jam, absolutely. So
y'all got to see this guy talk with his hands.
That's right. That's right. A rare moment of Tony on video doing some scratching.
Yeah.
Whoops. So that was it's a rarity. We always try to get him at every kind of function to spend a few minutes doing some freestyle scratching, and sometimes he'll do it, but usually not if there's a camera out. So to check it out on the YouTube channel. That's worth checking out. And so that kind of really ties into what we're getting to with Passionate DJ in general is we're excited to do the podcast again, but we are going to slow down the pace a little bit and back it off to bi-weekly. And that's just so that we have a little more time in between to properly plan for episodes and not kind of rush the production schedule like we were before, to a point where it's like every Sunday night is a panic situation. Like, oh, I got to get tomorrow's done. That gives us just a little buffer in between. The plus side of that is that leaves more room in between for like more random
stuff
in between. So specifically, right now what's on my mind is the YouTube channel, because that's what I'm having the most fun with. But this could be live streams. This could be, Tony and I have been talking about Twitch a lot. Exploring.
Yeah, this guy's got his whole Twitch master plan in his living room.
That's
going
one
on.
thing. Yeah, Tony's got a whole rig at his house
what's your handle on?
They love the D.
That's so good. But he's got a real nice, it's like a record shelf setup with the DJ setup on top, and then like just a big ass green screen behind it. And he's got a real nice set, some lights in there and stuff. And yeah, that's going to be fun, man. I can't wait to see what you do with that.
It's going to be a good time.
But we're talking about doing Twitch stuff and live streams on YouTube and more live Facebook stuff, and just more things that are like, hey, I was thinking about making a video about how such and such happened in the DJ industry, and then we can just do it and then produce it, and then when it's done, put it out. And that really does more of a service to our content rather than just like keeping a pace like we were before. So I'm actually really excited about that kind of new direction with it. One thing we did go ahead and sacrifice was the after party, Patreon. And that was just because it wasn't doing what we hoped. We never hit our goal. It was supposed to be, it was a 3-month experiment, and we actually ran it for a year. We kept it going. And we just didn't hit our goals, and it wasn't really the way for us. So we did go ahead and cancel that.
It was a little bit challenging. Doing the 4 shows was hard enough, but then adding that 5th show onto it, it became hard for all of us to participate.
So as far as like podcast episodes go, we're reducing the output by half or a little less than half. That way we can do more cool stuff in between. And that brings us to Fam Jam, which is one of those cool things. Yeah. So we did.
That was totally. I was in Indiana that day, and I was like, oh, I need to hurry up and get home so I can drop by, because I think my daughter had an event or something, and I was just like, okay, baby, I gotta go, and
yeah, I made sure to at least get you in for 5 seconds on the video, showing up fashionably late.
Yeah, proof of life. Yeah, but that was sweet. That was dope. That was nice to have.
So we've been talking, through the summer, like, what is it that we want to, like, when we come back with making content again, like, what do we want to be doing? And one thing that kept coming up was like more music shit. Like let's do like
for as much as we talk about music and DJing, we've never really done a lot of it. For you guys, like on video,
right? As part of Passionate DJ and sharing that with the audience. And so we decided to experiment with that, and it ended up in what we're calling Fam Jam. And basically the idea is reach out to friends of the show, people kind of in our extended network, bring them in, and then just with pretty much no rules, just almost open decks, turn it on. We live streamed it for the first one. And we just do whatever you want.
No matter how many times Facebook tried to cut us out.
Yeah, we had to restart it like 8 times, but luckily the recording kept going for the whole thing. And so I recorded a couple different angles, and we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. It was just like, here's a bunch of stuff, and throw it into the editing software and make something out of it, you know. And so we got like a ceiling shot kind of overhead, and we got like 2 sort of front side angles, and we really good sound connection through the same mixer we're using right now to record the podcast. And it was Trip and Tony played, and then former guests DJ Access and Firecat 451. So we had some out of towners come in, you know, semi out of towners.
Yeah.
Come in, but they were, you know, friends of the show, and we're like, hey, play whatever you want. So we started, it was mostly 4 to the floor, you know. Tony started out with some techno and like progressive sounds, and Trip, you know, took it up a couple of notches in energy, and then Will jumped in, he played house for a while, and, you know, DJ Access was scratching the whole time, and he played some stuff, and yeah, it was really cool. And then, you know, Firecat played drum and bass for, you know, a little segment in there. So we
tried not to play too much trance because we wanted the cops showing up.
Right. Yeah. We thought he might flip the table or something.
If you don't know what we're talking about, check out the Bad Gigs 2 with Firecat 451.
That's right. So we played for, what, 5 hours,
Something
I think,
ridiculous,
that night.
yeah.
And recorded the whole thing. And then we're like, okay, now we have all this footage. What do we do with it? So I kind of hacked and slashed it down to about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of stuff that I felt was a good representation of how the night went, because it was the end result. The video is very. It's not overproduced. It's kind of like a behind the scenes feeling. So you see us walking in front of the camera. You see us interact with the live audience. You see us, like, there's a couple times where, you know, DJ Access brought his Rain 12s. And everybody wanted to play with him because none
of us have ever used them.
Spent time with him. So there's a couple times where, you know, people just walk up and do a couple little scratches and, oh, yeah, okay, nod and point, you know. And we left all of that in.
Trip eating potato chips.
Yeah.
Pickles.
Pickles.
Chips.
Okay.
Right. And, you know, so we had some fun with that and put it all together and condensed it. And then had a pretty cool video, but then I was like, okay, but let's give them a reason to watch the video. What else can we do? And what inspired me was something that I used to watch as a teenager, which was
Pop-up video.
Pop-up video.
I was not a teenager when that show came out.
I was. But VH1's Pop-up Video, they used to pop up little kind of tidbits of information on top of music videos. Just
music videos were these
stuff.
Things where they had songs.
Just a little trivia.
And there was a story to go along with it.
Yeah. Short movies, short films.
Yes.
So I kind of took that and was like, okay, I don't want to make it so, like, frequent as that, but like maybe just overlay some little bits of trivia like that for people who are watching, just kind of give them a reason to have something to look at, you know. And so we kind of took that and overlaid some, I think I called them fun facts after that. And so there's just a few extra things to spice it up, and it turned out, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I called it Fam Jam 1 because I already feel like we're going to do it again. And I think, you know, being that was just a total experiment, this time we'll maybe know a little bit more like what the concept is and what we're trying to do, and maybe get some more behind the scenes shots and stuff like that. And so all that to say, you know, we want to be doing more of that kind of stuff, and like behind the scenes of shows, and, you know, bringing you like into certain situations that you wouldn't otherwise be in, bring you in the room. And, you know, those might be 5, 10, 20-minute videos. They might be podcast segments. They might be hour-long documentary videos. We don't really know. We don't have a specific plan. All we know is we want room to explore that stuff. So one thing that I want to do in this episode, so we always kind of do like a catching up episode as far as like industry news and DJ hardware and stuff like that. We usually do 1 or 2 of these a year to kind of pick up on the stuff that we maybe didn't actually take the time to talk about. And so obviously, being that we took the whole summer off, this would be a good time to do one of those kind of segments. So we're going to talk about DJ hardware that came out in the past few months. We're going to talk about industry news. But before we get to that, it is the month of October. And every October, we do a special. And that special is the midnight edition of our classic Passionate DJ logo T-shirt. So if you go to Passionate
like
DJ,
this but different,
passionatedj.com/midnight. This is the only time of year you can get this shirt. It's like the blacked out classic version of our logo, almost like it's like a dark gray on black, or
you guys have seen Trip
light
wear it
black
multiple
on
times.
dark
Yeah,
black.
that's one of his favorite shirts of ours.
It's kind of a hit every year, but we only offer it for that 30 days or so. So passionatedj.com/midnight.
That's what I'm wearing in the fam jam.
That's right.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is.
it is.
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk hardware. One thing that came out over the summer was the Roland DJ 707M, and I was actually interested in your thoughts on this one because this is geared specifically towards the mobile DJ market. It's a $1,000 Cerrado controller, and its kind of main focus is connectivity. And so it's got a lot of options. It does have the dual USB ports thing. So if you are doing changeovers or something like you're doing 2 different sources, you can do that. It's got 16 performance pads for use with Cerrado. It's got 4 line and 2 phono inputs. It's got dual mic inputs, and each of those have their own equalizer and effects sections on them. Has both XLR and RCA master out, booth out. RCA zone output, so you can control separate audio levels, auxiliary inputs. So it's got basically everything you're going to need to like be the center of the sound rig, which is kind of important for mobile DJs. So if you've got a powered speaker set up, you can just
plug and go,
slam into that, and you're good to go. But it also brings the Roland, the TR drum sequencer functionality. It must bring him to the drum pads because it doesn't have the 808 kind of strip on it. But
at the top,
it brings a sequencer, an oscillator functionality, and it's got like so each of the outputs, like the booth output, the master output, the zone, and the those are the 3. They each have their own separate like output processing. So it has like a 4-band EQ. So if you can EQ what you're sending to the house separately from what you EQ that you're sending to your monitors and so on. So it's very specific for each kind of output.
Yeah, from my knowledge, I think that's the first from a quote controller where you can level all those things, because being able to like EQ your monitor, because like for me, like I use in-ear monitors. I usually just use the reference monitor just so I can feel the bass. So I don't really need all that high-end stuff. But I mean, if you're like a headphone guy and you pop one ear off, just having the ability to adjust the sound for you, I mean, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I think it's cool that like the controller market has advanced to the point where there are valid products being marketed to the professional DJ that like does that for a living. You know what I mean, like the mobile DJ kind of thing. Because it used to be, at least the impression I have, I haven't been like a working mobile DJ, but I always got the impression you kind of had to piecemeal a lot of stuff together to get the kind of rig that you want and play the kind of light show that you want. You
were doing some mobile stuff, Tony, for a little bit, weren't you? I mean, nothing crazy, but just dabbled in it a little bit.
Years ago.
Yeah. But like to your point, David, like, you kind of had to come up with this Franken rig, if you wanted to do like different zones for outputs. Because I've read other DJs talking about using this system where like if they have a reception area, maybe like there's a cocktail area or like a separate area, and like running speakers to that area, and you can adjust it so that maybe it's not as loud, or you turn down the bass where everybody's like in this other room versus like on the main dance floor. So that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of what type of sound you're putting out to a certain area if you're putting out multiple channels.
Yeah, it's nice because DJ hardware is so like over-engineered and stuff by now. They suffer from feature creep, so it's nice when those features that keep getting added and added are like super practical things like
useful.
that are useful rather than just like, well, we'll just add 12 more sound effects.
Yeah, or more drum pads. Yeah.
Right, yeah, well, 16 pads instead of 12 or whatever.
Because I don't, like in all of my mobile work, I've never like decided to do like live performance and start doing, drum pads and stuff. And I'm trying to, like I said, my goal is to get grandma on the dance floor. She doesn't give a shit if I can sequence or anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, for a useful feature like that to be on a controller, I think that's pretty solid.
The other thing cool about this controller is it has a built-in function for feedback suppression. So it actually listens for feedback and will adjust your output to squash it, and it will also try to prevent it. So that's pretty cool. The new Mark Scratch. This is a $500 battle mixer, and it's meant for Cerrado. Actually, it comes with a full Cerrado DJ license, and it's kind of aimed at that DJM S9 market. It's got the toggle effects switches. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they're like rocker switches, but they're you push them up and then they spring back.
Go, yeah.
Dedicated filter and instant looping knobs. So kind of like with Tractor, how you can hit a knob and push it down and it'll grab a loop. It has that functionality. High-end 24-bit sound card, blah blah blah, all that fun stuff. Then it comes with a Prime Loop sound pack, which I guess is a $200 value. And a 2-month subscription to SoundSwitch, which is that lighting control software. One kind of downside to that is there is no auxiliary input or a send and return, so I always try to mention that. Probably not a big deal if you're doing scratch battle mixing, but worth mentioning. Pioneer, they came out with a couple of things since we were last on. Probably most notably the DDJ 1000 SRT. So this is basically the Cerrado equivalent to the regular DDJ 1000. So Pioneer is back to making Cerrado variants of their hardware again, which I thought was kind of interesting. Well, the cool thing about this one is it actually does kind of have a very particular market segment that they're aiming for. So it's basically the Cerrado user who wants the industry standard layout, because you get everything laid out like a CDJ and a DJM 900 Nexus 2. It's almost identical the way it's laid out, right down to the fact that it's not symmetrical. It's got like the pitch knob on the right on both sides. And so if you're a Cerrado user but you want to get used to that setup, then they're actually catering to that, which is kind of interesting, I thought. Yeah, because I
don't think it's. They already have the equipment made. All they need to do is just update the software and maybe put a different sticker on it.
Yeah, it is kind of an easy buck for Pioneer when you think about it that way.
Cerrado, it's been around for a while. I don't think it's going anywhere. And I appreciate Pioneer trying to get people to migrate over to Rekordbox, but at the same time, like I just talking with Tony right now, like I don't think I've seen a scratch DJ not use Cerrado.
And I generally favor any kind of setup where they're not like forcing your hand into a certain kind of system.
Well, like Pioneer did for such a long time.
Yeah. But it's got I should go through the basics here. The full-size low latency jog wheels. It's got a Magvel fader for scratching. Actually, it's guaranteed for 10 million motions, they say.
Tony, gonna put it to the test.
Let's say it's like 5 hours for Cubert.
And it's got the so if you recall the regular 1000, that's the Pioneer controller that has the little jog displays in the center.
That's
of the wheel.
one that Dave and I did the unboxing video, and then Dave did the hands-on. But yeah, same exact thing. Just
so this
Cerrado.
actually does the same thing. Yeah, for Cerrado, exactly. It also comes with a free voucher for pitch and time, so you can do additional key shifting types of things. It does have inputs for CDJs, turntables, but it can be used standalone, for vinyl mixing or whatever. Dual USB. So yeah, it's got all the things that the base one does. It's just meant for Cerrado. Less notable was the DDJ SB3 in gold, and this is just literally a gold edition of the lower end SB3. It's kind of cool looking. It's got gold jog wheels and trim. It's $249.
Sweet.
Matching pair of headphones, the HDJ X5 BT, same thing. They're just the same headphones, just with gold trim. No big deal. V-Moda came out with some Crossfade M100s that are supposed to be pretty nice. They might be worth looking into if you're looking for some kind of alternative brand headphones. A lot of people seem to like the V-Modas. I've heard a lot of good things about them, whether you're using them for Bluetooth or for more DJ purposes. And then a couple of like way too expensive, super fancy boutique mixers came out. A couple of rotaries, the MasterSounds Radius 2 valve and Alpha recording system, model 9900, and I'm not going to really go too much into those because they're very expensive and very niche, and nobody's going to buy them. But they're like $6,000, So, but they're just very bare bones rotary mixers with high-end analog components. It's that sort of thing. So that's pretty much all the hardware really that we of note that we haven't really covered, other than Phase was right on the cusp of releasing Phase DVS when we first went off air. So that is out, and they had some trouble with some of the performance. I guess there was some, I don't know if it was latency issues or stuttering or what it was, but they just recently released a firmware update to patch it. So that might be worth looking into if you are thinking about getting Phase DVS, which, if you recall, is basically, if you think of almost like a little USB thumb drive looking thing, but it fits around the spindle of your record, and it's got little motion sensors in it. And when you spin it around, it basically sends some kind of time code signal wirelessly through witchcraft and magic. To a receiver, and then that connects to Cerrado or whatever you're using. Pretty cool technology. I saw it at NAMM, and it really does work. There was demos going all day long, and so apparently they had the demo rig working, but but
the actual production
they had
ones,
a little trouble. So I don't know if they're still having trouble or not, but it is a pretty cool device. There was some buzz in the streaming services industry over the summer. A lot of these services are starting to integrate with different DJ-related stuff. I've commented before that the only place where I use actual downloaded digital files is with DJing, and I use streaming everywhere else, and it makes me feel like a dinosaur with the DJing, even though it's what I'm used to. It's kind of this weird dichotomy, I guess. And so no sooner did I start saying that it just started happening. So yeah, it was bound to happen. So you can now DJ music from Beatport Link, which is their kind of streaming service, with Rekordbox DJ. That's huge. That's probably the most notable one. A couple other things. You can now DJ music from Tidal on the Prime 4, the Denon DJ controller. And you can now DJ music from Spotify with the DDJ 400 Pioneer. Also, Beatport partnered with Loopmasters to bring sample packs and full songs. I guess they have a library of full songs as well into Beatport. So I guess Beatport is, has seen the writing on the wall as far as digital downloads go, and you're really starting to see them integrate in different ways and use different technologies to stay afloat, it seems.
Yeah, and for me, being the mobilest of the four of us, I had a lot of apprehension originally about the streaming because I've learned not to rely on technology because it's dependent upon Wi-Fi signal or cell signal depending on what you have. And in Ohio, especially, a lot of these weddings that I do, the whole barn wedding thing, that's like a whole phenomenon that I've been experiencing for the past 4 years. And luckily, there's one that I pretty much have a stable amount of clients that come through this one particular barn because the family that owns it like really appreciates what I do for them, so they usually recommend me. But they actually have been kind enough to give me like their home password, so that way I'm not tied into everybody else's password that's going through all their Wi-Fi systems. But I usually tend to use the antenna on my iPad because I don't trust anything else. It's just, call me paranoid, call me whatever, but if you're going to use these streaming systems, you need to make sure that you have a dedicated data stream some way, shape, or form. And then even if you are not in one of those rural settings, there was one event I did where it was at a old train depot, and everything's all made out of concrete and steel, and like I had shit for signal. I actually had to hardwire in to an Ethernet port, and I had an adapter from my MacBook, luckily, because I was getting like 1 or 2 bars. And but again, I knew this a week before, so I was trying to come up with workarounds. But I've been starting to learn from some of these other venues I work where, some DJs just show up and they don't prepare for these things because they show up the day of and they're like, "Oh, I don't have cell phone signal. What's your Wi-Fi password?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" That's not part of what we offer.
Yeah.
And so for those of you that maybe are in the market for a wedding DJ, maybe ask them what kind of software they use, because if they're totally reliant on some sort of streaming service and they don't have a backup, it's maybe not the best idea, but I mean, they might be able to get by. But ask them that question. I encourage you to do that. I still have a butt ton of music downloaded, and there's plenty of times where I download music just for events because I don't want to rely on the streaming for whatever particular reason. And so for me, I use the DDJ 1000 when I'm doing all these corporate and weddings and stuff like that. And one thing I will testify for is Spotify does a horrible job of differentiating between explicit and clean lyrics.
Okay.
Because a lot of people rely on these playlists that show up, and these playlists are peer driven. So they'll be like, because one the other day it was like specifically a clean version, "Clean Truth Hurts," by Lizzo, and I'm like, okay, let me take a listen. I just took a DNA. It turns out I'm a bitch, and I'm like, whoa, no, that's not clean. So that's one thing I will tell you about, just because if you are streaming music, if you haven't listened to it, you need to listen to it before you play it, especially in the wrong setting.
Yeah, that's something that's changed a lot, I think, with DJing, is like there was really a thing about like knowing your tracks, right? Like you had either a crate or a wallet or whatever it was, your collection, and you mixed a lot of those tracks over and over again in different contexts, and you knew, oh, this has a 16-bar intro, this slams right in, and you knew all those little details. And now it's getting so much easier to just play kind of randomly freestyle willy-nilly, which we've done
here
in
before,
some ways, but
just for fun. But
it does make you wonder how that specifically is changing the art of DJing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that changed a lot because it's so easy to become a DJ now. Like the barrier to entry is so much lower from a financial standpoint, and there's so much access to music. And then, like I said, just people, I've heard people DJing just like off their phone for a wedding or something like that. I'm not fully convinced that people that are at that level of DJing are screening all the tracks that they're playing. They might just take a playlist and be like, okay, well, that's what they want to hear, and just hit play. But then again, some people maybe aren't as scrupulous as I am when it comes to the content of the songs. But that's something like I pride myself on. So,
well, to kind of further draw a circle around the changes that are happening, in the music industry as far as that technology goes, in the latest update of Mac OS, they killed iTunes.
Yeah.
They replaced it with Music, your Apple Music app.
Yeah, that was that's kind of clickbaity. They made it sound like they were getting rid of it all completely, but they basically broke it out into like 3 different apps, I think.
They did, but they've removed the ability for the software to connect to third-party applications to share XML files, and what that means is it no longer shares data with Tractor or Cerrado or Rekordbox or any of that stuff. So if you're that kind of DJ that maintains your library in iTunes and then plays your iTunes playlists in your DJ software, that connection's been severed now. You don't have it. So you're going to have to come up with something else.
Yeah.
It's done.
And for me, that's how I used to catalog all my music, was through iTunes, because you can make those smart playlists and everything. So if anybody has a workaround,
the latest version is Catalina, right? I think that's what it's called. I recommend, if you're a DJ, do not update to Catalina on your DJing laptop yet if you use a Mac. That's one great reason why. If you use that kind of library management, who knows what's going to happen to that library and your workflow. And then the only other thing that kind of happened over the summer is Native Instruments laid off like a shit ton of their staff.
Yeah, and this is like the second time they've done this in about 2 years.
Yeah, could you maybe look up a story on that? We can get some details, but it's, I was kind of hopeful that Native Instruments was really kind of rededicating themselves to their DJ audience, because the Tractor Pro the update came out and they actually made some changes and some updates to the code, and they released a little bit of hardware. They came out with the Mark III version of the S2 and S4, and then they got silent again, and the Tractor user base is just falling and falling and falling.
Yeah.
They're way behind now, where they used to really be an industry leader, and it kind of makes you wonder where they're at.
And part of the complaint from the community on them is that they just basically made the software prettier. They haven't made any like changes in the architecture or the software itself.
Yeah, they gave it flat design language like everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, so it says here they laid off 100 people, and this was in the beginning of September.
I mean, that's a big percentage of their employee base. It's not like
and those people, then to speak to that hardware point, a lot of those people were in the hardware development department. So,
ooh. Are they distancing themselves from the DJ thing, or is it just not a lot happening there right now because the company is having some struggles?
Yeah, there's not been any disclosure about like financial challenges or anything, but they did do some restructuring. I think was about maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And they were trying to address the whole, because they allegedly scrapped one project to rebuild the Tractor platform, and I don't think that really happened. So, I mean, they created the app.
Yeah.
For the iPad and everything.
And I believe they've actually stated, or implied at least, that the future of Tractor software is Tractor DJ, is the mobile
is the app. Yeah.
And that meaning that will be the code base that they build on for future versions of Tractor, and it'll be like a shared platform.
Yeah.
But they weren't ready to make that switch yet. Yeah, I don't know. I feel the same way. I really hope that they get it together, because Tractor's that's where I like to live, if I have the option.
Yeah. But if they squeeze me out, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. So. And Cerrado is coming out with stuff like every other day. I mean, they're just running with it.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing I always appreciate about Tractor is like it's all in. Like you buy the software and you don't have to buy a patch for this, a kit for that.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of the problem.
Except Scratch.
Well, but now with the Tractor, used to be, but now with Tractor Pro 3, it's all in one. But maybe that's part of the problem, is that because they just give you everything up front, there could not be cost effective.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's coming to bite them in the ass. I don't know.
Speaking of Scratch, I know Tony spent a lot of time scratching over the summer.
Yes, I did.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about, you came to me a couple of weeks ago, and you were like, hey, can I can I have a favor? Could you let me borrow your 1210 and I'll let you borrow my 1200? And I was like, all right. Like, I don't give a shit, whatever.
Yeah.
So I have a silver one here now instead of a black one, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, he's like, the torque is different.
Yeah.
And I can really feel it. And you're like, I didn't really notice before. So is that still true now that you've gotten it home? Like, is it really that big of a difference?
100%. I knew about it when I watched a documentary that hit my timeline before I came over. And then when I came over and I actually started scratching on the 1210, after scratching on the 1200 all like for the 2 months prior to that, I knew, I was like, holy shit, like it just, a lot better.
It's just like,
is it the response time or?
It's the takeoff, it's the torque.
Mm.
It just, you let go, you bring it back, it's right back on.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to like have you show that to me, like do this move, like some little baby scratch or something, so that I can tell the difference. Because
you can tell
I've had a 1210 and a 1200 for years.
When you have your hand on the record and you're just scratching, you can feel the difference because it wants to go. You you lift your finger, it goes.
Interesting. Have you nailed your I don't even know what that move is called with your extra back click in it? No.
The Cerrado?
I mean, I get it every like 4 tries or something.
Oh, well, that's something.
I'm still working on it. Yeah, it's like the 2 and the 3 click flares. They're awkward to me because they're backwards.
Yeah. What about one more rep, Mo? How's that going?
We are about to release our 90th episode this week.
Nice.
Just hit 40,000 downloads.
It's been 90 already?
Yeah.
So go ahead and plug that for the audience who might not be familiar. What is OMR?
So after being part of the show, I decided to create another show, but it's mainly revolves around fitness and CrossFit specifically. And basically we talk about psychology, philosophy. We don't teach you like how you're going to win a competition or anything like that. We talk about like how can you become a better athlete or a better version of you. We talk about things from diet, nutrition, mentality, stress. We call it, one of our taglines is, we teach things outside the 60 minutes, meaning 60 minutes is your normal CrossFit class. We teach you the things outside of that periphery. And going pretty good. Still having fun, which is key.
Good, yeah, absolutely.
We're 90 episodes. I never knew how long this thing was going to last, but having fun.
Most don't make it past 20 episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're crushing it.
Yeah, but you still don't know a lot about the numbers. Whenever I ask Dave, he's like, I don't know either.
What do these metrics mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. Dave's feedback is like, are they going up? Yeah. Okay, then you're doing good.
That's all I go for.
Yeah.
Are they going the correct direction?
But
That's great.
having a good time. So I will share a little bit of feedback for everybody out there, especially mobile DJs. So yesterday I was doing that Dayton City Fest, which was to raise money for the people that were affected by the tornadoes that came through and the shooting. So 100% of the proceeds are going to people that were affected by those two things. When I was originally approached about it, it was from someone who I had worked with 4 years ago. And they say, we're just looking for a DJ to play music in between artists and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally down. Yeah, I'm all about it. What I failed to realize is that it was put on by a religious organization. I didn't learn that I didn't really register that until yesterday when I showed up.
Okay.
So I had to make a radical course correction to my playlist. Yeah, with about 2 hours of I figured it out about 2 hours before the show started. I was like, I need to take no Lizzo, no Obama, no.
Oh man.
Yeah. So stuck with the classics, played some poppy friendly stuff, I may or may not have called my 16-year-old daughter in a panic, asking her for what I could play that's on the radio.
Right.
Shout out to Michaela. But I think at the end of the night it wound up being, they appreciated what I did, although they had no idea I had like a severe freak out. So before you volunteer for anything, make sure you understand like who the parent organization of that event
That's
is.
funny because you're so good about doing your homework on that stuff.
But it was like I said, it was one of these things. Like she was a friend, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I didn't even, and that was the end
Fair
of it.
enough.
I didn't think twice about it. And then it's at Midway Church, on the back of it, and they're like, Midway Church. That's one of them big churches, isn't it?
Whoa.
I'm like, yeah, they had their church band and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix this.
Oh man. I started a personal YouTube channel.
For all that stuff?
Doing general nerd stuff and video game. I have a whole retro video game rig over there with Nintendos and Segas and all that kind of stuff, and I'm way too into that stuff, and it doesn't really fit on this channel. So I started a personal channel with absolutely no plans, by the way, or no pacing or whatsoever. It's whenever I feel like making something and it doesn't fit on Passionate DJ.
Hey, but this whole agnostic stuff, no pacing, that's how all this started now.
That's right. Yeah, and then it became a monster.
Yeah,
right?
It did.
It's meant to be purely a creative outlet for random stuff, just to change it up every once in a while. So and also a place for me to put anything music related that's relates to me as David Michael, the DJ, as the artist, instead of like something Passionate DJ related, so that I'm not just flooding it with my personal live streams and things. It's called David Michael, the DJ is the YouTube channel, but there's only like a couple of subscribers, so it doesn't let me get a URL and stuff yet. So I'll put a link in the show notes to that. And to anything else that you guys want me to plug, we'll share in the show notes, in the YouTube channel, and on your podcast app, and in all the places. And I'm glad to be back. I don't know about you guys, but this is fun.
Oh, did Trip had a commitment tonight? So please, he's not. He's still in the band.
Trip's hanging out now. We're gonna chat and catch up with him soon. But yeah, it's good to be back, and thank you guys so much for your patience and for your understanding during this time. You guys have been the best community and audience that any of us could ever ask for, and we'll see you in the Facebook group, and we'll talk about it some more. But for now, this has been the Passionate DJ Podcast. Peace.
Later.
Right.